As I wept in the shower, grappling with the revelation that my DNA test had to condemn me to being at least 2% French, I found myself scrambling for reasons to see this as positive. Military history seemed like a solid angle, which sent me down a rabbit hole. Were they really that successful? And if so, how would they compare to other Age of Empires civilizations? Before I knew it, my entire shower had turned into a deeply serious analysis of which civilization reigned supreme in the fine art of warmongering. So I'll be ranking all civilizations based on who in the Age of Empires 2 civilization list they have fought between 476 and 1598, the official time period of the game, although I'll be counting whatever happened in the campaigns before 476, and how successful they were in major wars. Because there's no point in counting that one time the town's lunatic in central Armenia decided to guide 15 people to invade the Byzantine Empire. For variety, the process is simple. I'll count the civilizations faced and rank them accordingly. For success rate, I'll take inspiration from football, since even a broken clock is right twice a day. We'll use a points percentage system to ensure fair rankings. Based on head-to-head records, a civilization earns 3 points for a positive record, 1 for a draw, and none for a negative record. Then we'll calculate the percentage of points won out of the maximum possible. I tested other methods, but this one feels like the fairest and most consistent for everyone. Also keep in mind there will probably be a lot of incorrect or missing stuff. I'm not a historian, nor have I the means to research in depth every single one of the 45 civilizations in the game. But please let me know where I'm wrong. Not only I want to know, because you know, it's fun to know this kind of stuff, but I'm definitely gonna fix it later. It's hard to know exactly who the Jaguar warriors stomped on before the Europeans arrived because of the lack of written records or documentary footage from the time. It is known that they were big into bullying smaller native nations, and although there are high chances that they went to war against the Mayans, whether it was small clashes or long-lost wars we don't know about, I find it hard to add the Mayans to the list here. Also, it was surprising to find out that they didn't fight the Britons before their collapse, as the might of the British crown was more interested in the Mayans further down south. And we all know about the Spanish Aztec shenanigans and how Hernan Cortés is probably still burning in hell and will be there long before humanity ceases to exist. The first name on the list is a solitary one, and on the losing side, with 1 confirmed encounter and 1 confirmed crushing loss. Maybe if we get another America's DLC they will recover. You know when people say that the smallest people are usually the angriest? Armenia is here to reinforce the point, and boy, that was a surprise. Well, surprise because I never pay attention to them, but just by looking at their geographic position you can expect a turbulent history. The game's Armenia is based off 2 stages of Armenia. The early Bagratid Armenia, who stomped the Abbasids, drew against the Byzantines, stomped the Persians, then lost to the Byzantines in round 2, and got finished off by the Seljuk Turks. After 2 losses in a row, they decided to spice things up a bit and became Cilician Armenia. I should probably say I don't know if this is how it went or how it went, I'm just trying to connect both Armenias and paint a picture. The Cilicians played it a bit differently, fighting and allying the Crusaders, fighting and allying the Saracen Mamluks, allying and fighting the Mongols, and then finally getting eaten up by the Mamluks. Diverse, albeit unsuccessful, but they get credit for trying hard. I expect them to finish at an alright position in both rankings. The first Indian civilization to appear gets the obvious 2 names right off the bat. Gurjaras and Dravidians, because the Devapala campaign pits us against them right at the beginning. They have also fought against the Hunas, although it is uncertain if the Hunas portrayed here are more closely related to the Huns or to the Tatars as they appear in the scenario. Looking at who the Bengalis were based off in the game, we get the names of 4 main players in the region: the Pala Empire, the Sena Dynasty, the Gauda Kingdom, and the Bengal Sultanate. The first 3 were very regional powers, and the last one extended their military campaigns to reach the Tatars, Hindustanis, and most likely Portuguese, as those colonizer Turks were everywhere in the region at the time. There are clear records of foreign relations between them and a number of other civilizations, but militarily they seem to only be related to these 4. Infighting is the name of the game for the Bengalis, and their record is a mixed bag, so I'm guessing they'll be around the bottom for variety and mid-ladder for success. These fellas had beef with everyone in Southern Europe. They conquered Spain, got pushed back by the Franks and Portuguese, clashed with the Malians and Italians, got raided by the Vikings. And out of the time frame we are holding here, also fought the Romans and Turks, although the Romans is a bit of a stretch since it was the same people but different ruler religion. The Berbers started out with one hell of a push, going into the Iberian Peninsula and taking over the whole thing until they ran into a wall called Charles Martel in France, just to be slowly pushed back into Africa over the span of 900 years and ended up with a no-K variety and meh success overall. Despite their shining gain coming from bringing tanks and howitzers to medieval battlefields, the Bohemians have a lot more to show here. The Kingdom of Bohemia fought against the Teutons as we see with Jan Žižka, against the Magyars countless times to put them under their thumb, and against the Turks while under Habsburg control, although that feels a bit like a stretch as it was already crossing the game's timeline. As a duchy, the Bohemians fought against the Franks and Teutons before being incorporated into the HRE, and against the Poles over land in their border. And finally, before any sort of feudal organization, they were allegedly trading slaves with Attila, yes, the Scourge of God, and small Germanic and Slavic tribes. We can't forget also the Mongols, when they built 3 castles between Bohemia, Poland and Teutons to fulfill the promise to the Great Khan. Their geographical position warrants a wide variety, and their anger a decent record for their size. Oh boy, this is a long one. The Britons have fought besides themselves the following. Celts countless times with a mostly positive record. The Franks with a shitty track record no matter how hard they try to argue against. The Vikings with a surprising comeback. The Anglo-Saxons. I'm not sure if Goth or Teuton in this case, but I'm guessing Goth due to the time period. With a very consequential defeat. The Normans, who are also Sicilian, with another identity-crushing defeat. They also fought the Saracens, Byzantines, Tatars and Turks during the Crusades. Funny enough, they didn't fight the Mongols, but side by side in Lord Edward's crusade as shown in A Man of God. They were cosmopolitan with their warmongering, but not the military might we know them for the later periods. But a good example of practice makes perfect. Another name that doesn't get a lot of screen time in the ranks of medieval fighters, but without reason. Our Balkan defenders have fought extensively against the Byzantines, Franks, Magyars, Slavs, Mongols, Tatars and Cumans included since they were under the Mongol thumb, and Turks. We should also include Poles and Italians if we take Ivail's final chapter as true and not something romanticized for the game. Although I have not found a lot of records on this. They fought with heart, and with a decent amount of enemies, but their results are a bit lackluster. The precursor to Satan's backyard, Belgium, has a story way too filled with evil for how short they existed as a civilization. The Burgundians are solely inspired in the Duchy of Burgundy, a small patch of land in France and the Low Countries, and they were only around for 100 and some odd years. Enough to fight the British, betray the French and fight them on the side of the British, and then be beaten by the HRE and France into not existing anymore. Comes to show kids that being evil for no reason doesn't pay. Unless you go to Africa many centuries later to commit a genocide. That pays. It was very hard to find information on the Burmese. According to the wiki, they are inspired on the Pagan Kingdom, Tuangu Empire and Kingdom of Manipur, but the last two happened mainly at the end of the game's timeline and after. But from the little I could find, the Pagan Kingdom did fight the Khmer in the 12th century and the Chinese with mixed results, and to the surprise of no one, got crushed by the Mongols. I don't expect much from them here by what we're seeing. A little extra note, there were also Vietnamese, Bengali and Portuguese in the Burmese campaign. However, I couldn't find a lot of info on real wars between them other than skirmishes. Get ready, cause we're about to go on a long list of 1123 years of bad choices and losing territory to pretty much everyone who tried. In the early Byzantine times, they were defeated by the Visigoths and Huns early on, held ground against the Persians and pushed back on the Goths in Italy, just to be kicked out by the Italian Lombards and Sicilian Normans. Then the Muslims appeared and the Saracenic fight was too much. Luckily they had the Bulgarians to take their frustration out on. Then the Turks appeared, and in panic the emperor called for crusades, which seemed like a good idea until they forgot to pay them and the crusaders took Constantinople and dismantled the empire for a while. They did come back, just to lose it all to the Turks. Also they fought against the Armenians, Franks, Georgians, Mongols, Tatars, Cumans, Magyars, Britons and Vikings. I'm probably missing a few here. Over 1,000 years of military history is a lot to go through. Top spot in variety though. Guess everyone wants a piece of Rome, even if it's not real Rome. 10 out of 45 civilizations. It's not a lot and this is a short video, but it's done this way so I can test if it's a good idea. I mean, I know it's a fun idea, but I'm unsure of how the reception will be considering mistakes and misinformation. Nevertheless, I will be correcting everything that is pointed out in the following videos if it works well. We went from Aztecs to Byzantines and the next will be Celts to Khmer. And don't think we forgot about the Age of Empires as a city builder contest. I'm just waiting for the full patch notes to announce everything with the prize. Yes, there will be a prize.